Deftones, Damone, Drop D tuning method, guitar tabs, and guitar lesson. I'll play through all the different sections here. After that, I'll go back through, give the full explanation for it. Before we jump in, do me a big favor, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way of letting me know you like this video and want to see more Deftones stuff. And now, let's go for it. Alright, so as I mentioned, this is a drop D tuning method. It's on the Around the Fur album, so of course it's in a drop D flat or, drop C sharp, whichever you prefer. So if you're trying to play along with the actual recorded version on the album, just know that they're in a drop D flat tuning. But for our purposes here, just to keep it simple and accessible and easy to just jump right into for everybody of all stages, I'm just going to keep it in a drop D. All right, so just D-A-D, G-B-E. All right, so that's what we got going on here. And of course, I'm going to skip, the 30-minute wait, the bong hit, and all that funny stuff, and just jump right into the song here. And the initial section here, we're doing like these chords that it seems he liked to use a lot on the Around the Fur album. Basically, we're just coming up in this initial section, doing this D flat power chord higher voiced. So we just got 11s on the D-A-D, and we're going to add this octave here, the 13 on the G, and we're just like down strumming eighth note style on this for a couple measures. All right, and if your hand gets too tired, you could just kind of go back and forth. Up to you. And from there, what we're going to do is just kind of change the bass notes. We're going to keep that 13 on the G, but just make some 12s on the D-A-D, and makes it like a D with a flat 5, and just crank that out a couple of measures. All right, and in the intro here, after we do that a couple of measures, drop it down to the 7th fret for the A5 power chord here. Same shape, just 7s on the D-A-D, the 9 on the G. Couple measures as well, and kind of same technique there. Go from the 7s, just make the 8s, keeping that 9 on the G for our A sharp flat 5 here. For the verse sections, we do this slide out of F octave here, so just 8 on the A with the 10 on the G. All All right, everything else is just kind of deadened. All right, and it would just come off to a single open low D string here, and it's just this kind of shuffle pattern here where it's 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, something like that. All right, and that whole thing just repeats throughout the verse. The first chorus, it's kind of an abbreviated chorus, I suppose, and it basically just kind of flips the intro. It starts with the A5 to A sharp, the 7 to 8 with that 9 on the G. Starts there, and it only messes with that in the first chorus. We just go back between those two twice. All right, now the second and third chorus, that's where it gets extended, kind of adds a new little wrinkle in there. It starts more or less kind of how the first chorus does, but it does it essentially 3.5 times with that, A to A sharp, the 7s to 8s with the 9G. So it'll do that 3 times, and then kind of a half a more time, like it'll do the A, the 7s to 8s, but it only does about a measure of that 8s, and it takes that last measure that right there, the A sharp, the 8s usually use, and instead it drops in 10s. All right, the C power chord just for a measure. It's this weird little transitional chord that gets tossed in there, and basically it just leads us into what we do in the intro. All right, the 11s with the 13 for a couple measures, then the 12s to 13 for a couple measures, then drops back down to the 7s with the 9 for a couple, and then the 8s with the 9 for a couple, and does that whole set from the intro twice. All right, so it's kind of this compiling here. I'll do kind of that final run through of the initial couple chords into the transitional chord, and then into how we do it in the intro. So it's something like. For the bridge, this first part of the bridge also happens at the very end of the song, and it's just this 11's power chords here, the D flat power chords on the DAD. It hits it, and it does a real slow bend, like big full bend, and then just comes off to a big open low D power chord, and just repeats that 4 times. And that's the first part of the bridge and the very end of the song. But for the second part of the bridge, it's just kind of a subtle variation of the verse where we're doing our F slide out, the 8 and 10 on the A and G. It's kind of mellowed out, and instead of doing kind of that shuffling open low D note, it just kind of hits the open low D power chord, kind of chilled out, and just lets that ring. And repeats that 4 times to finish the bridge.